put siege tanks at the top and position marines down the bottom to really force like Protoss units to attack from a terrible position, not have sight on the tanks, and be caught out fighting the marines while they take tank splash. So these positions really do favour the Terran, but it looks like Rake, who surprisingly, I was thinking he was going to go heavy Stalker, but it looks like he was saving the gas to get Colossi online, so he's not getting Immortals whatsoever, and he's getting his first Colossi on very early, and he's already halfway done on Thermal Lance upgrade, which is really important. But it's just going to come down to whether or not Elwar can hold this push off, because Rake's been playing a one-base play here this entire time, and economically he's just not in front of Elwar at all. He's getting his expansion online now, and he's in a very relatively strong position. I would have thought that Elwar could have benefited by taking this forward ramp, and now we are seeing Elwar's going to have to defend now because Rake's coming in, taking a bunch of siege tank damage on these Stalkers. Guardian shields going up, and the mass Zealots. Interesting choice, completely skipping the units to try and get around to the tanks, trying for a surround there. Not sure if I agree with that strategy by Rake. His forces were just melted. I think that was a bit of a missed micro there, choosing his heavy Zealot investment and sending it round for the siege tank line, which was a threat, but there was just such a bubble of Marines and Marauders there that he just lost all of his forces there. And now Rake is trying to sort of catch up by throwing down his expansion, and he's just very behind, and Elwar didn't lose too much, so I really like this position for Elwar. Rake's going to be in serious trouble to try and get himself back into this game. And now we are seeing the switch to Immortals, which will take significantly less damage against those tanks, which just shredded that Colossi there. So I really like this positioning from Elwar, who's just been so passive. And I'm not sure how Rake's going to get himself back in the game, because he's just so far in the behind in the expansion stakes, and we're seeing a lot of minerals saturating Elwar's expansion now. And you can just see the economic advantage, despite being even in 33/33, Elwar with that mule advantage is up in the 1100s compared to 800 for Rake, so Rake's really against it now.
Yeah, I think Elwar actually could push out and deny this expansion if he really wanted to. He's got so much more of a force with these siege tanks protected, and these Stalkers would make sure, Marauders would make short work of these Stalkers, but meanwhile he's just happy to make sure his expansion is set up. He really is in such a good position at the moment, but yeah, it was just bad play there to lose that Colossi so easily, because that cost him so much, and he had to give up on it very quickly. He's going actually another Colossi though. It is out, so the scan does actually see that. Actually good scan timing there by Elwar, but yeah, I don't know, he really likes this Colossi. I mean, he did go for it, so he doesn't want to quit on it just yet.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that this proxy pylon hasn't been given up yet. It's just Elwar's moving out across the map, and even now, just surviving and just not picking up the vision on that proxy pylon, which really hasn't played much of an issue. But if Rake pushes and manages to dwindle Elwar's forces down and one of his Colossi survives, then he'll be able to reinforce really nicely, which is going to be a huge problem for Elwar. But Elwar's just in such a comfortable position, going heavy ground units, because his scan did reveal that he's not having to deal with some kind of cheeky hidden void ray at this point. So I'm not sure about this switch. I do like the fact that there is an Immortal was chosen to be put in the mix, and now he's got the Colossi online as well. So it's an interesting mix, but there's so many siege tanks, and Rake is seeing this now. He is picking up all this scouting information with this very obvious observer there, which really needs to be scanned. But he has almost no anti-air, although there is this Viking now and a bunch of Vikings pumped out. So this should counter these Colossi if they're microed effectively, and that second Colossi coming in now. So I like the composition from Elwar, who's just playing so passive, and it's really easy to do this from a Terran point of view, simply because you can just take an extra base, you can defend really nicely, and not be in a super rush to try and win the game, because a lot of players will just win a fight like Elwar did, and then just immediately throw everything they have at the opposition to try and just win the game immediately, but there's no reason to do that, especially when you're banged up a bit. And Elwar's spending heavily in these scans, but I think it's going to be worth it, especially considering he's getting so many Vikings online to counter these Colossi. And he's already got 2 Vikings with more on the way, and Medevac's finally coming in through for these Marines and Marauders here who do have stim. So I'm not sure how Rake's going to handle this. He is looking to try and outposition Elwar there, getting caught a little bit. He's going to have to try and sandwich Elwar, but Elwar is not sieged up. He's going to catch him from behind, and these Colossi are going to work while these tanks are on siege. This could be really bad for Elwar, but these Vikings going to work on these Colossi. A lot of the damage being done, but there's so many Marauders. Stim going off, and they're just shredding through these units. So even though Elwar was caught out there, he was just able to go through it. And this Nexus being shredded by these siege tanks, and Rake caused GG. I really think that Rake made a bit of a mistake with that one base play right into a really heavily defended Terran. I think he should have macroed up a bit heavier and chosen a different unit composition, but really nice play by Elwar. He's just so passive and was just not interested in being aggressive whatsoever until he had the exact unit composition he wanted and everything to counter Rake's army there. So yeah, really good game by Elwar.
Yeah, no, fantastic by Elwar there. Like, those Marauders absolutely make very, very short work of that army, and the Vikings just smash those Colossi. So, great play by Elwar. Rake will have to come up with something better for the rest of this tournament.
Yeah.